Oh. Hey guys, get ready to feel
The power.
that's Colin Crandall, myself Adam Roorda, here with another episode of MMA Power Hour. Now Colin's typically your host. He's the one always asking the questions. But so glad to have you guys here. And, if you're watching on Fight TV, make sure to get on over to our social media. We're going to be transitioning a little bit after the new year, purely on our social media and the Hannibal TV. And really just going to be rocking it out. We are going to be building out that iFluxy TV platform here soon as well. So we're ready to make that transition, all of you Fight TV people. And for those of you who haven't heard about Fight TV, it's FITE.tv. Get on over there. Go ahead and subscribe to whatever. They've got some free channels that you can pay attention to, some pay-per-view channels as well. Great platform. Don't get it wrong, but I've been ready to set up my own platform for a while. We actually got started that way, didn't we, Colin?
We did. That was one of your areas of expertise that you have been doing for years, and you wanted to do it, and you did it, and that was our first experience. And now we're going to get back to it with a lot more mojo and a lot more buzz about us. And really, 2022, I think, is going to be a year that we're going to be out there en masse, as they say, and blowing things up. Hopefully, with the help of so many people that support us. We really appreciate it.
You heard it here first on Fight TV and on our social media as well, maybe even on the Hannibal TV. But make sure to hit up our social media, MMA Power Hour. It's just at MMA Power Hour. And just stay tuned there. We've been making a lot of changes. We're putting a lot of focus back into the show, and that's how it all started. So with the partnerships of Lith Token and cross-trained MMA Fighter.
Yep,
.com.
Absolutely.
And we'll be getting this kick started running next level.
Absolutely. Next level it will be, man, and we're excited to do that. And our first guest is ready. I guess we can let him know that in a couple minutes we'll bring you on. Jimmy, appreciate you being here. Looking forward to it. So, Dr. Adam Roorda, we got, about 2 minutes or even less?
If you want to bring him in, we can go ahead and bring him in if he's ready.
Let's do it. Let's not make our guest wait.
No.
He said, okay. I guess it was our team that said a minute or two. Okay, so we're looking forward to bringing our guest in about a minute or so as soon as we get the cue from our engineers. So, Dr. Adam Roorda, we're rocking here in this new studio. It's exciting. In the last second switch, we're over on this. We're both on this camera. Does that mean this one's dead?
No, it's when you're zooming into here.
I see.
When it's both, it's here.
Okay.
When it's both, we're here.
There we go.
We're learning the new setup, everybody.
We're getting it. We're figuring it out. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it. Amazing stuff that we have to figure out and learn the curve here in this Third Wheel Studios, but we're really excited to be here. Great team here, and a lot of good work to be done. Okay, so I think we are about ready to bring on our first guest. It looks like I'm giving the thumbs up, gentlemen. Okay, so I'm going to give the intro, ladies and gentlemen. So happy to have this guest back on our show. This is one of the most respected MMA journalists in the world. He's a rare blend of a man who fought MMA as a black belt in BJJ and has also been a journalist and one of the top MMA media people and commentators for years. No one like him, one of the best guys in the business. So happy to have back on the show Mr. Jimmy Smith. Jimmy, how are you?
Thrilled to be here, I got to say. Thank you so much for having me, man.
You're welcome. I really appreciate you. So you really have something that I don't think any other individual has as far as a commentator. We have a lot of high-profile fighters that are doing commentary in their organizations, especially the UFC, but they didn't really start as commentators. They just came from fighters, from being fighters, and then we have people that were commentators that never fought. And I honestly think you're the only guy who fought, has been more than a decade as a commentator, and has a BJJ black belt. So I really feel that you're a guy who stands alone at the top as far as being able to understand what we're looking at in this world of MMA fighting.
I appreciate that, man. It's it's been a weird road, to say the least, man. Going from fighting to commentating to now doing, Monday Night Raw and stuff like that. So the number of things I've been able to do through sheer luck is pretty amazing to me, man. But it's been a great ride.
I like that. You're too humble, because you knowing what you're doing, it really has a lot to do with it. And Raw, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm not following as much pro wrestling as I used to, but that is fantastic that you're part of Raw. So you're not only doing Unlocking the Cage on Sirius XM, but you're on Monday Night Raw. If I could talk, that's got to be really interesting. Now, I'm sure you grew up watching wrestling. Were you a big fan of pro wrestling, or a kind of a low key fan, or not at all a fan? What was your relationship?
In the time I grew up, which is I turned 10 right around WrestleMania 3, right? It's just huge. You couldn't be that age in the 80s growing up the way I did, not be a gigantic wrestling fan. And I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid. But the difference is when, I grew up before the Attitude Era. So it really didn't target young adults, like even college age, high school. It really didn't do that. When I was a kid, it was a kid's thing. So
right.
Like most kids, I outgrew it when I was about 12, 13 years old. I kind of, lost touch with it. And so I had basically a 30-year gap in my knowledge until I was called by the WWE to do some auditions. And, hey, we'd like to see, if, you could work with us and all this stuff. And then I got a crash course on pro wrestling. I caught up on about 30 years of it. And then I've been doing it every Monday night since then for the past, 7 months now. I've been with the WWE, man, doing Monday Night Raw every Monday, and it's been a trip, man. It's been great.
Fantastic. Did you have to create a character? Is there the pro wrestling Jimmy Smith and the real Jimmy Smith, or is it 100% you being you?
It's 100% me being me, which is great. So I'm in between. Corey Graves is to my right, Byron Saxon are to my left, and they're the face and the heel, the good guy and the bad guy essentially, and they get to just go off and be their characters and be kind of crazy. And it's my job from the get-go to kind of be the audience and be the man in the middle and be the straight man and stay in between these two, warring guys who have, conflicting opinions about everything, and take the audience kind of through that journey and tell the story and all that stuff. So that's kind of my job. So no one's given me a character or what they call a gimmick or anything like that. It's just been, all right, you're the straight man and you take us through it. And until I hear different, I'm just going to keep being me and call it like I would any other a fight, man.
Absolutely. Have you run into anybody from the MMA world that's participating in WWE?
Yeah, Shayna Baszler, who fought in the UFC and is doing great stuff right now. Right now she's on SmackDown, but she was on Raw. Matt Riddle is killing it right now at Monday Night Raw. He's another UFC veteran who's part of a tag team now. He's doing fantastic. Bobby Lashley, I called his fights in Bellator. Now he's on Monday Night Raw. I see him every Monday. I've had an amazing match this past Monday against Big E and Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. He had an amazing night. And so there are some fight people in MMA, and a lot of pro wrestling fans in MMA. And then like Big E is a professional wrestler. It's a huge MMA fan. So he saw me and was like, oh man, Jimmy Smith, great to meet you and all that stuff. So there is some crossover for the fan base and for the athletes as well.
Absolutely. Glad to hear that. So I know that for years, the crack on wrestling was that it was scripted, and there was a lot of controversy because to a lot of people, I think especially younger fans, that meant that the whole thing was fake, that it was a fraud, that it was a joke. And the reality is, I think over the last several years, people have realized that these are some serious, dangerous stunts that guys are doing there. Not only that, but just even the lesser dangerous stunts are still really hard on the body. In fact, I think several MMA fighters have said, I think Don Fry at his acceptance to the UFC Hall of Fame said he thought when he'd go over there into wrestling, that can't be any harder than MMA. It's going to be easier. You just go in there and have some fun. And he found out, boy, was he wrong with that. It seems like because of just the aerobatics and the dynamics of jumping and falling and other things that it actually is, would you say, more dangerous than MMA, or kind of just similar but with a different aspect?
There's more potential danger. And what I mean by this is I generally, in an MMA fight, I know it's dangerous, but I know where the danger is coming from, right? There isn't that I can get punched, I can get kicked, I can get submitted, I can get something broken. It's just a more dangerous sport. But I'm not jumping off a 20-foot cage where one little thing going wrong can paralyze you. Yeah. That's comparatively rare. So the rub in professional wrestling and sports entertainment is they're doing things that are incredibly dramatic and dangerous and potentially awful. They're trying to do it in a safe way, but the potential for danger is much higher than MMA, where MMA is always dangerous. You know it's dangerous. You're prepared for that danger. But in a sense, you can also you can take the right precautions. You can do all these things to try and make it less dangerous. The inherent potential danger is higher in WWE, but the daily actual danger is higher in mixed martial arts. I know that's a hard thing to understand, but I've seen stunts pulled by guys where if they're off by a fraction of an inch, they're dead or they're paralyzed or something terrible happens. You know, it just is what it is. And in MMA, I've seen some hard punches, I've seen some bad knockouts, I've seen some serious injuries, but it's something I think you're a little bit more prepared for. Then, you know, you can only prepare yourself so much to jump off the top of a cage or something like that. There's only so much you can do. And that's what wrestlers do all the time.
Absolutely. You know what it reminds me of? Remember in the late 90s, ECW, where they were kind of being a lot more violent than in most wrestling?
Yeah.
I remember that was some crazy stuff, and I think a lot of the mainstream guys in WWE or back then in WCW were not willing to do that. Was that kind of an anomaly? Was that something that you think we'll never see again, or are smaller organizations somewhere possibly doing what ECW did?
Yeah, they are, because, you know, mainstream, you know, sports entertainment and pro wrestling have gotten away from that a little bit. You're not going to see, you know, the blood. You're not going to see the weapons. You're not going to see the stuff that, you know, New Jack was doing at ECW. You're not going to see that on Monday Night Raw. You're not going to see it on SmackDown. You're not going to see it on a little bit on AEW, but you're not going to see it as much in mainstream wrestling. But there'll always be that niche. There'll always be those fans who want to see stuff like that, want to see guys get bladed and all this stuff. And so there's going to be someone filling in that niche. And so, yeah, I think it'll always be a subset of professional wrestling and sports entertainment is going to be the quote hardcore scenes, right? The more violent, the more bloody stuff. There's always going to be a market for that. Will it be mainstream again? That I don't know about, but there'll always be someone willing to fulfill that need for the fans.
Absolutely. So let's talk about UFC 269. Man, what an event. The last pay-per-view of the year, 2 title fights, so many other interesting fights. Prior to the 2 title fights, which fights stood out in your mind?
Kai Kara France versus Cody Garbrandt. Man, that was amazing. And it was really Cody Garbrandt's last shot at elite status in the UFC.
Yeah.
Former champ at 135, of course, lost twice to TJ Dillashaw. That kind of started a run of bad fights, bad performances. And he needed to go down to one, lost to Rob Font, needed to go back down to one, or not back down, go down to 125 to revitalize his career, to jumpstart things, get a title shot and all these things. And this was his last shot. And Kai Kara France didn't just beat him, knocked him out, laid him out in the first round.
Yeah.
And I don't know where Cody Garbrandt goes from here. I know Kai Kara France, I talked to him today on my show, Unlocking the Cage, and he's ready for his title shot. He thinks this is, you know, his ticket to the big time. So it was an all or nothing fight for Cody Garbrandt. He got nothing.
Yeah.
And Kai Kara France made a huge statement. That really stands out to me in that fight.
Absolutely. That great city kickboxing team member there with Izzy and all those guys. Those guys are killers. And Kai Kara France. I love watching the Izzy reaction there to Kai. He was so genuinely fired up. And but, you know, some people are taking a little bit away from Kai by saying, you know, it's obvious that Cody was too big a guy to be a flyweight, that what happened to TJ Dillashaw against Cejudo is, you know, pretty much exactly the thing that happened to Cody, regardless of whether he looked good at the weigh-ins. And what do you think? I mean, is there a little bit of that to it, or was it 100% just Kai beating a guy who was perfectly healthy and perfectly strong at that?
I think it's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking with that, where I didn't see any, the one thing I took from the weigh-in. Let me put it this way. I picked Kai Kara France to win it. And then I picked him previously on my ESPN job. And then the day of the weigh-ins, I'm looking at Cody Garbrandt, and he looked good.
Yeah.
He looked lean. He didn't look too sucked out. He looked strong. And I went, man, he looks good.
Right.
Should I change my pick? And I didn't. I stayed with Kai Kara France. But I thought about it. Man, he does look good at the weigh-in. I thought maybe going down to 125 would leave him sucked up, or he wouldn't look good. No, he looked really good. So physically, the idea that the cut took a lot out of him, I didn't see any evidence of that. I didn't. He looked good at the weigh-in. He looked lean, but not sucked up. And I've seen a million bad cuts. I know what they look like. And this was not one of them. He looked okay. I think it's a matter of a guy who normally had a hand speed advantage at 135. Suddenly at 125, they're a lot faster. They can just, you used to be quick at 135. You're not at 125. They're a
Right.
lot quicker. I think underestimated the punching power of Kai Kara-France. Kara-France took him right off his feet with a big shot. I didn't think he saw that coming. And that combination really got him. And I mean, same thing. Yeah, the cut hurt TJ Dillashaw, but also the idea of being a fast guy at 35. You go to 25, you're not fast anymore.
Right.
And I think it was the same thing that bit TJ Dillashaw as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Although I'll say this, I mean, and this is not trying to give Cody any sort of an excuse by any means. I like Kai Kara-France and that team, but it seems like a lot of guys that are like, let me actually put it in reverse weight. Kai looks like a legit 125er. He's kind of a smaller guy. He's in great shape, but he looks like that's, he probably walks around 137 or 138 or 140 or if that. And it just seems like a guy like Cody, like these guys that are taller than 5'6", it seems like to see them at flyweight is tough. Although I know Brandon Royval is there, and some other guys are, but I don't know. Who knows? I mean, the bottom line is we see how it went, and that's that. The next thing we see is a meme, I think, put out by Cody that says so featherweight. And he can't be serious about that, or I don't even know, it was a dummy account, or I don't know if you saw that tweet, but that couldn't be what his next thought is, although I guess, but that wouldn't make any sense, would it?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. And people don't understand what a cut takes out of you. They don't understand. You have to have a real understanding. I think Jose Aldo's a good example.
Yep.
He went from 45 to 35 and stopped being a volume guy. He started being a power puncher because he knew he wasn't as fast and couldn't maintain the volume of fighters at 135. He couldn't do that. So he had to change his style around. He understood what he would lose, and he understood what he would gain. And you have to have a clear understanding of that in order to switch weight classes and be successful. You have to understand what you're going to gain and what you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And if you can adapt to that, fine. If you can't, you are never going to make it.
Yeah.
And I think Cody Garbrandt has to find some way to restart his career. But as far as weight classes go, I think it's about it for him.
Yeah. Probably he should just go back to bantamweight, or if you had to pick for him.
Makes the most sense.
Yeah.
The cut wasn't killing him. He'll probably be a gatekeeper for the time being at 135 until something changes. But why kill yourself making 125? You're getting the same results. It doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. Which other fight other than the two, the main and co-main, excited you?
Well, a couple of them. I really like the performance of Dominic Cruz, Pedro Munoz.
I was just going to mention that.
Yep, got hit a lot in the first round. Like a veteran, he came back, made adjustments, started outlanding Pedro Munoz, won a unanimous decision. He is, right now, to me, the greatest 135-pounder of all time. I don't know what this sets him up for. I don't know how far he wants to go. I don't know how much longer he wants to do this. I don't know what level he feels he can be competitive. But, it shows that Dominic Cruz still has something to give. The Tai Tuivasa knockout over Augusto Sakai. I like Augusto Sakai a lot. I called a lot of his fights in Bellator, but the power of Tai Tuivasa would not be denied. 26 seconds into the second round, got a knockout over him. I really enjoyed that fight. Tai Tuivasa is a fun guy. People like his personality. They like his celebrations. They like everything about him. So both of those were excellent fights as well.
Absolutely. Dom is such an amazing guy after, 4 knee surgeries or even 5 to come back and keep doing what he does. I loved his unifying message afterward. I've always thought Dom was a good dude. I know he's almost kind of had a heel persona for several years, and then I think also there are some people that just don't like him. But I really liked what he had to say, and he even repeated it so people could hear it. That during these times, it seems like people are being forced to be against each other and to be divided, and we need to come together. And I hope people listen to that, because that was a great message. And also, I don't think that was a message for someone who is genuinely not a nice person, and would say. So I think Dom is a pretty good dude, and I really liked that. Do you have anything against people making messages or trying to make a statement in their after interview? Did that bide well when you were talking to guys in Bellator or UFC, or did that piss you off, or what's your feeling on something like that?
As in what? The statements he made about DC or which part?
No, not the DC ones, but the positive statements after his victory over Munoz, where he was telling people to come together. Yeah, cool.
I love those. Whenever I was interviewing a fighter and they had a positive message to share, they had something important to say like that really meant something or resonated with fans and just people in general, I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
I honestly did. And so I loved it when someone came out there with a positive message, man. I loved it every single time. So him doing that, that's cool, man. That means a lot to me. That's a lot of fun.
Absolutely, I agree. The thing with DC, I'm starting to wonder. Some of this stuff, it seems like it's a put on. Like the thing with Ariel and DC, I heard from several people that was a put on, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the people I heard from were wrong. And now with DC and Dom, I don't. Do you think it's possible that could just be a put on, or if it isn't? Then why would two guys working together? Why would someone tweet something on social media saying that I don't think the other guy's doing a good job? What's your take on that?
Well, I have a couple takes on that. Number one, if it is a put on, it's not a good one because, and John Anik tweeted this. He goes, anything that takes the shine away from, or I don't know if it was an interview, but I saw it in tweet form. Anything that takes shine away from the athletes is bad.
Right.
Anything that you're talking about the announcers, you're not talking about the fighters, is bad. So I agree that if it is a put on, then you shouldn't do that, right? It should be about the fighters heading into an event, not about the commentators complaining about each other and animosity. That shouldn't be a story, essentially. Do I believe it's genuine? Yes, I do. I don't believe in airing that kind of stuff publicly. I don't believe in doing that. Dom's willingness to do that, I don't know where it comes from. It may have been he just, shut off about it because he was asked about it. And so he said, hey, here's what I'm going to say. And fine, okay. I don't think that's the time or the place to talk about something like that. I would never say that about a peer. I would never say that about someone I had to work with because, hey, if I have a problem with somebody, I'm going to take it to them and not, air my grievances to the public. I wouldn't do that. So his choice to do that, I don't really understand it at all. I don't.
Yeah, and that conflicts with my other statement about Dom being a great guy by mentioning the positive thing after his fight. Now that he's mentioning DC, and it's interesting. I think in social media, and it also seems like the Generation Z or the youngest millennials love finding people ripping on each other or tearing each other down. I mean, it's become like, people gang on to just, like, sadly enough, a lot of these younger generations are hating on Joe Rogan. They're going, oh, he sucks. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's lost touch. He can't keep up at all with the guys. Get him out of there. He's terrible. And this is a guy who, as you know, was like the first guy to get in there in MMA shortly before yourself and start calling fights. And he's a great guy. He knows more what he's talking about than any of these guys. I think you're the only guy that's close to that knows that much. But, it seems to me like it's almost become kind of a shit show, and it's almost like feeding the haters, of which there are so many.
It's a brutal culture. You got to be ready for it.
Yeah.
You do. I mean, it's just like, when I joined up with the WWE, we started doing Monday Night Raw, I was told, like, hey, don't listen to anything online. Don't go looking for validation on Twitter. And I laughed and I said, dude, I'm from MMA.
Yep.
I stay far away from all that crap.
Yeah.
Period. I don't look on social media for people to tell me I'm doing a great job, for doing a bad job. Hey, I don't care. There are one or two people, no matter where you work in entertainment or sports, who decide whether or not you're going to keep working. And the people out there tweeting aren't those people. As long as people who care that you keep a job are satisfied, hey, man, that's about it. That's about all you can really care about. It's all you can worry about.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of how I feel about it, is I don't worry what people online are saying. I worry about the people who actually sign my checks, what they're saying, because that's the important part.
Absolutely. Well stated. So let's get to the co-main event, the GOAT, or the GWOAT, if you will, for people that say it is the greatest women's fighter of all time, holding 2 title belts. The odds were about, I think, 8.5, 9 to 1. It was like a minus 1,000 on Amanda Nunes, the comeback on Pena, plus 600 to plus 700, depending on where you look. I don't remember anybody going out there in any source saying, I am completely confident that Juliana Pena wins this fight. Nobody wanted to be that guy. I think that a few people were saying, anyone can win a fight on a given day. Juliana's got some skills, but her past performances didn't make it look likely. And to me, I'm really anxious to hear your thoughts, because to me, it just, something seemed a little odd. Like, if you compare it to when the mantle was turned over from Ronda Rousey to Holly, and then also when Ronda tried to come back and fight Amanda. It didn't seem to be anything wrong with those fights. They both stopped the hip throw and any of the judo throws and the takedown. Holly basically lit her up with her amazing kicks and caught her. And Amanda just basically pieced her up mercilessly. And there wasn't anything that seemed strange. It was just that, hey, the Ronda's skill set had finally been figured out. But in this fight, it just was weird. A lot of people are commenting that Amanda started gassing in the second round. How does an athlete like an Amanda Nunes start gassing in the second round? It also looked like when she was in this brawl with Juliana, she wasn't cutting angles. She wasn't being the sharpshooter she normally is. She wasn't. It just looked like she was befuddled. And you know, I've heard various different thoughts, interpretation of the weight cut, her not being into it anymore. What's your opinion, and what have you heard? Because it seems like just something was a little strange with the way Amanda Nunes looked in that fight.
She looked off. She didn't look like her normal self. She looked checked out as soon as she started getting hit. She wasn't making any adjustments, which is weird for a fighter of her skill level. She was getting outboxed, and then she didn't change up her punching. She didn't go back to her leg kicks, didn't try for any takedowns. It was bizarre that once it started going wrong for her, which it did in round number 2, she couldn't adjust. She didn't even attempt to right the ship, which is strange. It did seem like an off performance, but also, you know, what I love about it, Juliana Pena stood her ground, didn't back off, stayed with the game plan, never faltered, and that's important. I think all those things are very, very important. But she did all of that, and you know, that you have to give credit where it's due. But Amanda Nunes did look very off, and I don't think we're going to know for quite some time, if ever, exactly what the deal was.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people are touching on the choke because she didn't have that choke in very tightly. She didn't even have one hook in, much less two. But I think a lot of people don't know, who don't train jiu-jitsu, is that, you know, or MMA, if you're exhausted and someone's starting to get a choke on you, it's even worse a feeling than, you know, than someone putting a choke on you when you're not exhausted, because, you know, then you can breathe. You know, you can kind of control your breathing. And I think that when someone's exhausted, I think Amanda wouldn't be the first to tap out to a choke that was starting to cut her breathing off a little bit, but it wasn't in tight. Do you agree with me on that?
Well, you can get choked out completely, 100% without hooks in.
Right.
It's
right.
Without the hooks, it's hard to hold a position. And Amanda wasn't trying to roll or buck or anything.
Nothing. Yeah.
So that was the funny thing to me. Not that she tapped the choke wasn't deep. I'm sure it was deep enough. It's if a person doesn't have hooks, you usually get them off you with you can try something.
Yeah.
And we didn't see that at all. And I think that's what surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, it's almost like she was just wanted out of that fight.
Yeah.
It's, you know, a lot of people are comparing it to the Mike Tyson Buster Douglas fight of 30 years ago, where Tyson really felt this was just a fight against a tomato can and didn't train for the fight, was goofing around in Japan, was so confident. He was 24, 25 years old. And Buster Douglas' mother had died. He was so motivated to do something in his life for his mother's memory, and it was just the perfect storm. And it seems to me like, you know, that was kind of maybe what we had here. There's talk from some people that Amanda didn't train hard, that she didn't feel this fight was going to be difficult. There's also talk that she wasn't really wanting a fight in December. It was sooner than she wanted to fight. And then Juliana Pena almost had nothing to lose after a first round. It's just almost like Juliana said, hey, I'm going to try this and see what happens. And it worked. But the only way we'll know is, I guess, in the rematch. Amanda has said she'll take a rematch. Obviously, that should be, you know, mandatory. Do you have any doubt that that's going to happen? Some people are saying they think Amanda's done and she's just going to say, forget it, I'm out.
I think even if she's done, she'll go for one more.
Right.
I think even if she's like, okay, I'm really not mentally in this, but I can't leave without trying to get this one back. So I really believe that even if she's pretty much checked out, she'll go for one more. And if that one's a blowout or she's not sharp in that one, then we'll see her call it a career. I think she comes back for at least one more.
Yeah, and who would be favorite, do you think? What would the line be in that rematch?
I bet you the line will be Amanda Nunes. I bet Amanda Nunes will be a slight favorite in a rematch. I've seen it before, and I really think that's going to be the case.
Absolutely. And if Amanda comes back and just completely dismantles Juliana Pena, then the Pena victory will go into history kind of as a fluke.
Probably. Probably. It'll be, a lot of times I call Holly Holm, who, of course, knocked out Ronda Rousey. I call her the Buster Douglas of MMA. She had one great win and has never beaten an elite fighter since then. And that can happen sometimes. Yeah. And we'll have to see.
Yeah. What's interesting is she was the first biological mother to win a UFC title. I don't know if anyone's done that in Bellator either, perhaps. But that's definitely something for the history books. I know that I saw some people in an argument that Amanda Nunes can say she's somewhat of a biological mother, but not really when she didn't carry the baby. I'm not trying to be controversial, but I just think if we put everything aside, the first woman to have had a baby herself to be the champion of a major organization, or at least of the UFC, is a man.
Yeah, that's tough because, birthing takes a lot of recovery time. It's not, that you're less of a mother or anything like that. It's just that, it's hard on the body. Yeah. It takes a long time to come back. It's very, very difficult. You can't train for a long time. And I think someone who's able to do that and then come back and perform at the elite level, that takes a lot.
I agree. Big respect to her for that. If Amanda comes back and doesn't beat Juliana, or if Amanda somehow doesn't come back, there's talk about Juliana wanting to get that one back against Valentina Shevchenko. And some people are saying all she's going to do is go down to 125 and fight Valentina. And I don't know that she's that small or small enough to do that. In fact, I think Juliana had a couple fights earlier in her career at 145, if I recall correctly. And she's not super young. I think she's 31 or 32, which is not old. But do you see her being able to go?
But not young.
No.
Yeah.
Do you see her being able to go to 125?
No, but I see her having the juice now to lure Valentina Shevchenko up.
Correct. And Valentina may want to do that because she may feel this is perfect. This is someone I beat before and I'll beat again. I think that would be an exciting fight, though, because I think Juliana's better than she used to be. And not only that, Jimmy, is there something to the old statement that when you put a world title belt over your shoulder or around your waist, that you automatically become about 25% better because of the confidence and the desire, the pride, the desire to keep that title? That was an old boxing statement, I think, from 100 years ago. But is there anything to that in your opinion?
I believe that. So much of this game is mental. It's about confidence and validation and all these things. And I think being a champion validates all those statements about you. They validate so many things about you. And you carry that into your next fight. And I think that's 100% true. 25% is about right.
I would agree. I would agree with that. So I think that the fight with she and Shevchenko would be a battle. That would be because I don't get the feeling that Shevchenko's burnt out yet or disinterested. I think this is her life. It's been her life since she was 5 years old. And I think that would be an amazing fight. Hopefully we might see that soon. Or, the tough thing is that if Amanda comes back and destroys Juliana, well, then we still could see it. Who knows? It's hard to say. But it's definitely an interesting shakeup for sure in the women's bantamweight division. And then also Amanda is still the featherweight champion. What do you think the chances are, and I think the chances are zero, that she'll do what Patricio Pitbull did when he said that since I lost my title to A.J. McKee, it's ridiculous for me to call myself a champion, so I'm vacating my other title. Now, people kind of know he did that for his brother, Patricky Pitbull, to win and become champion, which he did. But what are the chances that Amanda's going to say, well, I'm not the champion, let me vacate this 145 title? Probably not going to happen.
Highly unlikely. I think she holds on to it and maybe uses that a little bit of leverage, although there's no real division there.
Yeah,
I think she holds on to it. I think the rematch with Pena is the first one they make for sure.
Gotcha. What would be your guess about where Kayla Harrison lands? Everyone, well, I don't know what everyone. A lot of people are hoping the UFC, because if the UFC is Amanda's there or Pena, but if not, then I guess Holly or Norma Dumont. And then Bellator, the Cyborgs there. Where would you think she lands, and where would you like just the MMA fan in you for Kayla to land?
I would have said the UFC before this fight went down. Now I still probably think the UFC, but I think Bellator has a bit more now, because right now there's no 145-pound division in the UFC, really. Amanda's next fight is going to be a rematch with Juliana Pena, so that super fight's kind of gone. Getting in there to fight another 45 pounder isn't really worth a lot of money to the UFC. So I would say the UFC right now is the front runner, but not by a whole lot. I think after this loss, that super fight goes away, and so does a lot of the UFC's motivation. So I think Bellator is a bigger player now than they were before last weekend.
Yeah, I agree. If you look at the reaction from fighters in the front row, so many fighters. You heard Misha Tate, because Juliana's her buddy for years and training partner, shrieking actually, and for joy, and everyone else jumping and happy, and Michael Chiesa running, and then you see Kayla Harrison's back turned, like she didn't even want to see what was happening, and she turned around and was like, "No, no," because that was
cost her $1 million.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah, and so that's unfortunate, but stuff happens, and we'll see. Still, it's love to watch the women fight. I know you do too, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. So main event, going into the main event, I was super excited about that fight. I think so many people were as well. I think a lot of people felt that this was going to be the irresistible force, immovable object meets the irresistible force, that both men were 100% confident they could win, that it was going to be back and forth, and and a lot of people don't realize that most fights are not. Most fights, someone gets the upper hand and kind of maintains it in combat sports. I'm going to say maybe most being maybe 70%. So there's still 30% of fights where they go back and forth. But in this fight, it just seemed to me that the favorite, Dustin Poirier, looked like he was not feeling as confident as the champ. Oliveira came out there, pushed, Poirier to put essentially to have his back in the cage, going sideways along the cage. It's like he literally cut off the cage and basically stepped forward 5 steps, across, and said, "Here's where I'm standing. You're going to be moving with your back against the fence." And it looked like, aside from landing a few shots that Dustin landed, it just looked like something, and I'm not going to say anything was wrong with Dustin, but he didn't look like he had that ferocity. He looked like, like, to me, either he had some injuries that really were bad and that haven't been disclosed, or something was wrong and he just didn't feel good about this matchup, because that didn't look like the most confident Dustin Poirier in there at all. And it looked almost like he was trying not to lose for the most part. But I'd be curious to hear what your thought is. What did you think about what you saw, how it unfolded compared to what you were expecting, and what do you feel you did see?
Well, I thought, the best chance Charles Oliveira had was start quickly, get Dustin Poirier on his heels, and take advantage of the fact that Dustin Poirier can be a slow starter. To me, the first round was the exact opposite,
Right.
where Poirier answered the early attack from Charles Oliveira very, very well. Countered attack well, hit him with some good punches. I thought he rocked him in the first round. It was really, really dicey for Charles Oliveira. And then in round number 2, when it became about the ground game, there was like Plata, and he tried to roll out of it, ended up with Charles Oliveira on top of him, and then the grappling is what sealed the deal in round 3. When it came to the grappling, that's where Poirier got tentative and would just, couldn't really engage, because Oliveira is that much better on the ground.
Yeah,
I thought he did well with the stand-up in round 1, but once it went to the ground and once submissions were involved, it's a different animal. Oliveira is just a level better than Dustin Poirier and everyone else at 155. So to me, it wasn't really a lack of aggression, because I thought he did do well in round 1, but it was, once it's on the ground, I don't think anyone at 55 is going to beat Charles Oliveira, period.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, that once it's in his wheelhouse, man, that guy's hard to beat. And he was able to keep it in his wheelhouse rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Where does Poirier go from here? I mean, he's in a different position than Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt, I hope, has some kind of money in the bank, because he's worked so hard, but it's probably not much. Poirier's got a lot of money in the bank from that Conor fight and just made a little bit more money here. But he's 30, what is he? He's like 32, 33, I think, Poirier.
Yep.
But he's been in the game since he was like 20. And he's got a lot of miles on him. He's had a lot of wars. What, if you were Poirier's manager or his brother, what would you advise him to do, or what would the game plan be from here?
Well, it's about what you want to do. And he said he doesn't know if he has it in him to climb back at 155, which is incredibly, incredibly challenging division. He'd have to put at least 3 or 4 together to get a title shot again. It's a monstrous division. He has plenty of money. He's selling a lot of hot sauce. I think we'll know in the next month if he has the fortitude to do that. Because if he doesn't, it's time to go. It's time to go. You can't be halfway in on this game. It doesn't work that way. So if he's not 100% committed, you're either 100% in or 100% out. I think we'll know within the next month where he is.
Gotcha. Any possibility in your mind that he goes to welterweight? There's some talk that he might want to go after former teammate Colby Covington, and he doesn't have to cut the weight. Maybe he might feel that gives him some advantage. What do you think?
I think it's the worst thing he could do because he gets out wrestled at 170. He gets out powered at 170. Their cardio is still good. All of his advantages, like his toughness and his power, and they all go away. Those guys are tough. They're more powerful. They're bigger. They're better wrestlers. I don't think he wants to go to 170. It's about, and also it isn't any easier than building up again at 155.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where you go, well, if you're going to, do everything you can, at 170, you might as well go to 55 and you might be able to win a title. If he doesn't have the wherewithal and doesn't have the interest in winning at 55, I think going to 70 is the worst thing he could do, and I don't think he'll do it.
Gotcha. Now, with Cody having gone down and failed, and with your prediction here that if Dustin went up, probably would be difficult. Do you have a preference for a fighter to make a move that makes more sense in this day and age? And would it be going down in weight or going up?
It's so difficult because so many fighters just are, you can see that very few, shift weight classes and have a ton of success. And good example, Gilbert Burns going 55 to 70. He had success there. Robert Whitaker going from 70 to 85. Israel Adesanya tried to go 85 to 205. It didn't work. It takes a special fighter who can really adjust well. You have to have a very high fight IQ, and you have to have the ability to make tactical adjustments and fill out to the weight class. Maybe Kamaru Usman does well at 185, and I don't give him. A lot of people think he would do really 185 at 185. I'm not one of those people. I think he has a lot of trouble at 185, but you could argue maybe his frame could hold the weight. Maybe Justin Gaethje has power that translates at 170. That's about it. There are not a lot of weight changes right now. Guys are so good at their respective weight class. It's hard to find that room to move.
Absolutely. Let me ask you the last couple questions for a couple minutes. I appreciate you hanging in. I think we kept you about 7 minutes more than I expected, so I appreciate your staying with us. Apologize if that messed up your schedule or anything. But what do you think of Dariush against Islam? How does that fight play out?
That's going to be very interesting because Beneil Dariush is a great grappler with very good wrestling. He's very, very smart. He angles well. He's not easy to take down. And once you take him down, it's hard to have your way with him on the ground. I think that's going to be a real test for Islam Makhachev.
I agree.
If Islam Makhachev blows him away the way he's blown everybody else away, he's the real deal. But I think Beneil Dariush, I think it's going to be a long fight. I don't remember if this is going to be a main event, if it's a 5-rounder or three rounder. I don't remember. But right now, the way I'm looking at it is it's going to be a deep water fight. It's going to be a long fight. It's going to be a grueling fight. And it's going to test Islam Makhachev's ability to be creative with the takedown and really work his guard passing. He went right past the guard in the Dan Hooker fight. He doesn't do that against Beneil Dariush, even if he does get him down. And we saw against Tony Ferguson is he was able to keep that fight on the feet despite Tony Ferguson's best attempts to take Beneil Dariush down. So I think it's a real test. And if he can beat Beneil Dariush the way he's beating everybody else, he's the real deal for sure.
I agree. We've interviewed Beneil many times. He's a great guy, and I think this is a big fight that he does have a good chance of winning. I know the odds have him a little bit of a dog, but it's going to be exciting. How about Gaethje and Oliveira? How does that one play out?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to wait till it gets a little bit closer to really break it down. But I got to say, Oliveira, he's got to get more head movement. If he takes the punches that he took in the first round against Dustin Poirier, he gets knocked out. He cannot take those shots. So between now and whenever he faces Justin Gaethje, head movement, footwork. He really needs to work on his elusiveness because he took too many. He's been very hittable in his last couple fights. You do not want to be hittable against Justin Gaethje.
Agreed. If Khabib came back and fought this Charles Oliveira, how does that fight go? And is there a possibility that might happen?
There's a slight possibility that happens. I don't think a whole lot. There's a slight possibility that happens. But if it does, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Oliveira gets it done. And I really think Khabib is great. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think it's mostly a striking battle, and I've been really impressed with the striking of Charles Oliveira. And I think his ground game is so slick that Khabib wouldn't be able to just, have his way with Oliveira the way he had his way with so many other guys. None of them had the ground game of Charles Oliveira. So I think it's a different animal, different fight. Right now, I would lean Oliveira. It'd be funny to see if it would actually happen.
Absolutely, and then we'll see what happens when Dariush is in there. He and Justin Gaethje have trained together a lot. They may fight together if they both win. So there's so many interesting possibilities and so much great stuff in all different organizations. I really appreciate you jumping on here, Jimmy. Let us know again for people that missed it where people can see you at your different amazing commentator jobs and radio host jobs.
Well, you can catch me on Sirius XM Fight Nation Tuesday through Friday, 2 to 5 p.m. It's called Unlocking the Cage. And also, I'm doing commentary every Monday Night Raw. Check me out.
Awesome. Really appreciate you, Jimmy. You're someone that I respect tremendously and always have, and I really value and thank you so much for taking the time to jump on here and talk to us in the MMA Power Hour.
Anytime, my man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. And that was Jimmy Smith. Adam, always good to talk to Jimmy. I mean, the guy really knows what he's talking about, possibly more than anyone else, because if you really look at it, he's a BJJ black belt. He fought and had a winning record in MMA for like 4 years, and he then has been an absolutely stud of a commentator. I honestly think UFC may have released him because he was so good. He made a lot of their guys not look so good, and It wasn't on purpose, but it was because they compared to Jimmy, they didn't look like they really knew 100% of what they were talking about.
Right.
And if they did, they weren't able to communicate it. Quite. They weren't able to communicate it.
No, I was getting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, Jimmy's awesome, and always love to chat with him. It's we've been having him on the show for 4 years. We actually met him in person in Venice, almost like three and a half years ago, and that was a good time.
That was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Just being down there on the beach and everybody looking at us like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
He looks like somebody.
Yeah. It was really, really cool.
I'm showing up with my cell phone and a mic.
Yep, but that was awesome. So yeah, Jimmy, big respect for Jimmy Smith, and you guys check him out on Sirius FM, Unlocking the Cage, and WWE Raw. It's perfect. I think he really adds legitimacy to that, and I think they made a good call bringing him.
He does to both.
Yes, to both.
He does to both.
Yeah.
And I know he's a go-to for MMA media in general. Being able to get him on Sirius XM is a huge deal, I think, both for the sport and radio.
Without a doubt. So, Dr. Adam Roorda, we have a little bit here before.
Well, first off, I'm going to go off on the fact that we did not call that Amanda Nunes loss.
No, we did not.
You kind of did, though.
I appreciate you saying that. I don't know if I can take.
You said
much
what round you thought it might happen. You didn't say it was going to happen, but you said, if anything were to happen, this is what would happen. And that's what happened exactly in the right round. So,
yeah. I did.
You called it in that sense, so I have to hand it to you for really putting the potential out there.
Thank you. I appreciate
the probability.
Yeah, I appreciate
if it's going to
that.
happen,
Yeah,
that's how it's happening.
Exactly right. It would be by sub with Juliana Pena, and yeah, that was definitely amazing victory and taking nothing away from Juliana Pena. But in all honesty, she's going to have to win again for people to for a lot of people to not believe that it was a fluke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, come
She's-
on, it's
yeah.
either a fluke or she's a new goat.
Right, exactly. And the weird thing is she went from really not being super impressive to beating the GOAT, which is odd. A lot of the times when someone comes up and beats the previous champion.
It blows all of our minds, Colin. I don't
Yeah,
know if there's
yeah.
any getting on top of it and trying to make it
right.
sense of it.
We just have to see if she can do it again or at least come close.
We do have a lot of guests on this upcoming card. A lot of previous guests.
Do we? Nice.
Give me your opinion on this one real quick. Macy Chasson against Raquel Pennington.
That's a really interesting fight. This is the highest profile, biggest name fighter that Macy Chasson will be going up against. Raquel is tough. She's the partner of Tisha Torres, and Tisha has been getting better and better. Raquel is so gritty and tough. There's word that she does look really great in her training and sparring, that she's extra motivated. I think she probably would feel that she has something for Juliana Pena if Juliana were to maintain that title after fighting Amanda again. So she's probably extra motivated. I think the odds.
Who do you got now?
I think I gotta think I'm gonna go Pennington in that fight. Macy's a super nice girl. We haven't talked to
the
her.
odds real quick. I'll look it up.
We haven't talked to Macy in about a year and a half. She's had fights fall through, and she's doing her own thing. And it's we've had great interviews with her back when people didn't really know who she was.
2-1 in favor of Raquel.
Yeah, and so she hasn't been available, and that's okay. But yeah, no hate on Macy. She's a nice person. But yeah, probably Raquel Pennington in that fight. Should be a tough fight though.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be shocked if Macy wins, but it would be a huge win for her.
Right.
And it would be a big derailing type of a loss for Pennington. But yeah, I was gonna say, should we ask our guys to bring up the fight odds on the screen, or you want to just?
No, I can just keep going with it. I can bring you the odds.
And we're still both, since we're together, we're on this camera, okay?
Yep.
So.
And what about with the next one above that? Actually, Andre Ewell coming in out of, looks like Apex MMA. Is that right?
Something like that. I don't know where Andre's training. He's going up in weight, and a lot of people have said it's something he should have done quite a while ago, because he was so lean and skinny at bantamweight at like 5'11" and a half or 6 feet.
Going against the Canadian Charles Air Jourdain.
Air Jourdain, yeah, very, very tough guy who's came out with a lot of hype and kind of has let a lot of people down to an extent as far as how good they thought he would be. But he's a natural 45er. Like Jimmy just said when we spoke, Jimmy Smith, is that the changing of weights and trying to reinvent yourself and recreate yourself, it seems like it works less often than it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this is a tough fight, and it's really important that both of them get a win here. But I'm gonna say I would lean Charles Jourdain.
Okay. Now, what about one of the fan favorites out there, Sijara Eubanks, and she's going up against Melissa Gatto.
I know. Am I going to pick against all our previous guests? I almost never do that, but sometimes
you have to.
Sometimes you have to. Not only that, sometimes if it's guests that have been mysteriously unavailable for a year or more for no reason, then it's okay. So Sijara Eubanks is back down to the flyweight division that was always very hard for her to make, but she was successful when she could make it. It's a big cut. She's getting older, and that makes it harder to make that cut. I like this prospect, Melissa Gatto. I know it's spelled with 2 T's, but Gatto is still cat to me, and I love cats, all sizes.
Oh, that's a good enough reason for me right now.
Right, the cat. You got to go for the cat, And so, but no, I think Gatto is going to do it. It's going to be a tough fight, though.
Yeah,
Sarge is gritty. Sarge is way more experienced.
Do the odds agree with us, though? Let's check that one out. I
would think Sijara is going to be favored a little bit.
She is.
What is it? Minus 180, minus 160?
Yeah, minus 160 to 180.
Yeah.
195.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight, and I think Melissa Gatto gets it done. It'll be a huge win for Gatto. And it definitely would be a disappointing loss for Sijara. But, Sijara's a nice person. But I just don't think she'll win.
Is that good enough? Yeah.
Not enough to win, though. You can't sometimes being the nice guy, you don't finish first. You don't always finish last, like that old saying. I never believe that nice guys finish last. But
nice guys do finish last.
Well, sometimes.
Good guys and nice guys are not the same thing.
That's true. The good guys, though, don't always
I'm a complete
last.
asshole, but I'm also a good guy.
There we go. Exactly. And you don't finish last, though. So, although we have on occasion, both of us, but we don't.
I mean,
always.
It happens. I don't finish last. I may land last for a second. But
right, but not in the finish. Well, while you're looking for the next one, we are so happy to be at this Third Wheel studio with all these great guys here. I don't even feel like a third wheel. We got Armand, we got Harrison, right? And we got Mike. So
wow, you got the names right.
I appreciate it. Yep, I like these guys. And Third Wheel, man, if you want to come down here, The studio may be a third wheel, but they won't make you feel like a third wheel. So wanted to throw that out to this great studio that we're at. Which other fights?
Colin's trying with his jokes. He's not landing today.
Thank you. I thought I was just complimenting our team here, but that's okay. You're right.
He's jumping out of the plane without the parachute.
That's what I usually do. I'm trying to
just
fly.
Just a big old splatter pile.
That's what usually happens. The story of my life, actually. No respect. I'll tell you. Are there not other fights than those preliminary fights?
No, of course there are. Of course there are.
Well, we still have a few. We still have several minutes.
Above that, we've got Justin Taffa heading up against Harry Hunsucker.
Harry Hunsucker's a good dude. I think I'm a Facebook friends with him. He's a tough guy. They threw him to the Wolves in his first fight last second. And now there's, again, somewhat of a short notice fight. Taffa is a tough dude, but he doesn't beat very many guys. He's a tough Hawaiian.
Yeah, he's not a world beater, but he's tough.
He is tough. This is a hard fight. I'd like to see Harry pull off the upset. What are the odds on that?
You're right.
What are the odds on that, Doc?
3.5 to 1.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Harry's going to try it. I think Harry might do it. But I wouldn't bet on this fight. But it's going to be a tough fight. But I think Harry's going to come up and bring some.
You know what
power.
I think? I think he is going to come up and muscle his way through this one. You know what? I'm going to decision on this one. I'm throwing $20 on this one.
I like it. Well,
100%.
After he wins, they can call it the Hunsucker proxy.
If I had $2 million to go on it, I would not. But
No.
$20 if I had a couple million to go in on it, I would
There
go $20.
we go.
So that's what I'm doing.
That's it.
Okay, so then we've got Dustin Stoltzfus against Gerald Mearshart.
Stoltzfus against Gerald Mearshart. Well, in England, my friends there would be happy if I would say we just want to make sure that Gerald doesn't shart all over Stoltz's food.
You are trying so hard tonight.
That's from my friends in England. Chris Allen, you know who you are. So I think G3 Mearshart is going to be the superior force in that night over Stoltzfus.
Yeah, the odds makers agree with you on that, and so do I. What about? This is going to be an exciting one. Cub Swanson, Darren Elkins.
Cub. Did you know that Cub is the major grocery chain in Minnesota? Did you know that?
Yes.
You did know
Cub
that.
food stores.
How did you know that? Do they have that?
They have them in Iowa.
In Iowa, that's right next door. So, shout out for Cub Foods. Anyway, Cub Swanson, very nice guy. Interviewed him at Bellator a couple of years ago. He was there with some friends of his. And against Elkins, man, Darryl Elkins, the real life Rocky of MMA.
Darren Elkins, oh man! Every time he goes in there, I feel like he's just ready to go to war.
He's a killer.
Justin Gaethje are my two favorites
to
watch.
Yeah, I mean, and Justin Gaethje is a little bit more of a high level, a little bit more talented. Justin, or you could say in today's lingo, Darren Elkins is kind of like a low key Justin Gaethje.
I don't know about low key, just
not quite as talented.
Yeah,
he's not quite as talented, but he's so tough. If you go in there against Darren Elkins, you better prepare to freaking stop him, because if you don't, he will come back like a zombie and beat you, no matter how bloody it is, no matter how beat up he is. He's a gritty wrestler. He's got tons of scar tissue, so he'll bleed almost instantly once he starts being hit. But the blood won't throw him. It may encourage you, but don't believe it, because Elkins is going to keep on coming. I think Elkins beats Cub. They're both really good guys, but I got to go Elkins in that fight. I could be wrong. They're both really tough veterans.
I mean, they're both tough veterans. I'm going to go with Cub on this one. Go with the odds makers. It's about 2.5 to 1, mostly 2 to 1.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go with them on that 100%.
All right. Next matchup.
Well, let's skip over a few. Maybe we can touch base on.
Okay.
Well, you a fan of Ricky Simon?
Yeah, Ricky Simone is a team Colin Oyama.
Yep.
Team Colin Oyama, and he's going up against the veteran in Rafael Asuncao. And he's a favorite 3 to 1, and he should win that fight handily. Asuncao is in the twilight of his career. Ricky is coming on looking like a killer.
So you got Ricky on that? Okay.
All the way.
Submission?
Probably not, because Sun Sao is a jiu-jitsu black belt, although it doesn't mean he can't be submitted. We've seen it, especially the last several months. But I don't think so. I think probably either a decision or a ground and pound stoppage. Probably decision.
Okay, which round?
You're really forcing
Or
me
you're
to-
saying decision, right?
either a decision or stoppage in the third round.
Third round. Okay.
Yeah.
I like your decision call.
Yeah. I think
Sorry,
so.
I didn't catch that at first. It was a decision.
No problem. No problem. That's
and
right.
a little slow tonight.
That's all right.
I need some caffeine.
Somebody get this man
Tuesday-
caffeine.
Tuesday nights, I need caffeine, guys, or maybe a little bit of pot.
Tuesday Night Fights. That was on the USA Network in the 90s. I still
Well, we've
remember it.
got Tuesday night MMA Power Hour for everybody to catch up with.
That's right.
For those of you tuning in for the first time, catching us on Fight TV or anywhere on social media, make sure to hit us up. It's at MMA Power Hour. We will be exclusively on social media here shortly. We are going to be getting teed up and ready to go for a new platform in the very near future. Thank you to everybody over at Lift Token. I'm wearing the gear right now. Hopefully you can see the whole shirt or the hat. It's lifttoken.io. They are big supporters of the show and love working with them. Now, saying that, I am one of the head guys over there too. But
Yes. We still got the Hannibal TV going, though, right? Or we were not
yeah,
unsure?
we still have the Hannibal TV going on social media. So right now, I believe we're only on the Facebook page there. Make sure to hit up the Hannibal
We'll
TV.
be back on the YouTube. We just had to make the connection set up with the stuff that these guys do and the stream and the craziness.
We'll keep going with that stuff while we build out here. And
Yeah.
like I said, hit us up. It's at MMA Power Hour. What about this fight, Colin? Angela Hill against Amanda Lemos.
So that's an interesting fight. What do you think? Angela Lemos, or Lemos, I think as they pronounce it, has been just slaughtering her opponents. She just comes in there and just wipes them out. She's almost like the female MMA Mike Tyson. She used to fight at 135, and then she completely skipped 125 and dropped down to 115, and she's just big sistering these girls. She's beating them like a redheaded stepchild. And I'm glad you guys like that. Our engineers like that one. The fact though that she's going up in class to fight a much more experienced opponent in Angela Hill. Angela Hill, she is 36 years old, so she's a little bit older, but she hasn't slowed down that much. She never seems to really get over the hump when it comes to getting a huge win against a top opponent, but she comes really close and she fights really hard. Once in a while in this situation, the veteran just frustrates this upcoming prospect, and I think there's a shot. I think there's a chance. I keep on losing betting against Amanda Lemos, and at some point I'm gonna stop doing that. But
No, it's kind of like me with Amanda.
right, Amanda Nunes.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's wrong. And
Yeah.
if there's anybody that's going to do it, it is going to be Angela Hill. When she shows up, it's usually against someone like this that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a world beater. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden Angela Hill's just like, nope, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let you have it.
And
Yeah.
Angela is not extremely impressive to me lately, but you know what? She is at the same time the one that hits a lot of. She just takes these
Yeah.
top prospects off their pedestal
She does.
and knocks them down and makes them go through the cycle again.
She has done that.
This is a
yeah.
great matchup.
I think so
Vic.
too. I think so too.
Yeah.
If somehow Amanda Lemos comes in and just completely wipes out Angela Hill, then Rose Namajunas better look out,
Oh yeah.
because there's a hurricane coming her way. But I just don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be a tough fight, though. But I'd say there's some value on the dog. What are the odds? You're probably Lemos minus 300 and plus 200 something on the comeback on Hill, or is it not that wide?
Oh, it's wider than that. It's negative 350 to negative 420.
Oh, wow.
I'm seeing.
And then what do you can get? Plus 300
plus
maybe?
270 to
Sweet.
plus 310.
Yeah, I think there's some value in Angela Hill. I wouldn't go hard, but I think there's a possibility, and I'd like to see it. I think we may see it.
Yep.
What else do we have?
All right, so we've got two more great ones. Bilal Muhammad against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
All right, the bully, Bilal Muhammad against Wonderboy. Man, oh man, can Hawaii get sticky?
He had to do it.
I have to stick in that Elvis statement at least once a show now, because I know that's what he would say. They'd say, Elvis, what do you think about that matchup between Bilal Muhammad and Stephen Thompson? He said, my boy, can Hawaii get sticky? man, oh man, I don't know what to
You're
call.
just trying to
on
get
that
under
fight.
my skin with that. Yeah, Colin's doing it. He does this. For those of you that have not really paid attention lately, Colin's really been throwing this out just to get under my skin every single episode.
I didn't realize you don't like Elvis. I thought you might.
I love Elvis, but
Yes.
yes, they use the
But
same line every
I
time.
see. That's what
start
it is. I got to mix it up. But that's one of the lines from This Is Elvis. I don't know. I'll find another one for you. I'll find another one for you. I promise. But anyway, this fight is really, really tough.
I love Elvis. What are you talking
I
about?
know.
Of
Who
course
can
I love
not?
Elvis.
Don't you? In fact, I was going to say, here's a way that you can kind of weed people that you don't want in your life out. If they tell you they don't like Elvis, that's a fail.
Yeah, get him out.
Get them out of your life. Push them away. Say, you know what? If you don't like Elvis, then something's wrong with you. I don't need to deal with you.
Give him a pair of blue suede shoes.
There
and
we
call
go,
it
and
good.
send them on their way. You know?
Exactly.
But anyway, so interesting fight. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is so unorthodox, man, with his point karate style, but he's so tricky. He's so accurate. He's so explosive. He is getting a little bit older. His takedown defense is not as good as it once was. Gilbert Burns kind of came in there and, as a slight underdog, kind of really made Stephen look like he wasn't what he was 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, then Bilal has a pretty good chance. But Stephen has a way of just frustrating everyone, and he makes people want to chase him down. Yeah. But Bilal is really good. Bilal is, put it this way. Stephen's been up at the top and nearly at the top of the mountain, but just hasn't quite been able to get to the top and put that strap around his waist. But he's been close. Bilal hasn't really been able to insert himself into the conversation yet. And so with the win here, Bilal's name is in the conversation, for top 5, top 6, although it's such a stacked division at 170. But, he's there. And so I think this is a more important win for Bilal than it is for Stephen. Although if Stephen loses here, then there's probably going to be maybe some talk that it's time for Wonderboy to,
Hang up the gloves.
Yeah, or as a Wonderboy would do, fly off into the sunset if he takes this loss here. But Bilal is a super great guy. I've interviewed him. We had him on the show.
I think this one's for a changing of the guard. I
Yeah.
think this one, I think it really is set up for a changing of the guard. Looking at the main event and then these guys being the co-main. I mean, really the co-main for this underneath Derek Lewis and Dawkins.
Right.
This is a changing of the guard fight. I know the odds makers have it in favor of Wonderboy, but I really think that Bilal is going to take this home.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very decisive.
Wow, and it really could be. If Bilal catches him, he could possibly stop him, and
Well, it all depends on the wrestling from Wonderboy, and I'm not sure.
well, the wrestling takedown defense of
Yeah,
Wonderboy,
yeah.
because he's not going to try any offensive wrestling. It also depends on how polished Bilal is. Bilal really wasn't a high-level wrestler in school. I think he was either D2 or he just wrestled in high school. I forget which, but he's got it down. He's trained hard. And a lot of guys don't have a lot of credentials or much of a pedigree, but have gotten the wrestling down.
Right.
And Bilal's is pretty good, but this is going to be a really firm test of how good I think Bilal's wrestling is, because he's going to need to use it, I would think. Although, watch me be proven wrong. You get hit hard, then you could be done. Even Wonderboy. The thing with Wonderboy is people have a hard time hitting him, but if you hit him, his chin is starting to grow a little bit of a sweeter spot as time goes by, and you hit someone there, they're in big trouble. But that will be an interesting and exciting fight with a lot of ramifications in the UFC welterweight division. And then is the main event next?
It sure is.
Well, let me give my Bruce Buffer sign. It's time for the main event of the evening. 5 rounds for no title, but for being in the conversation for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the world. And the MMA Power Hour team, Colin Crandall, Dr. Adam Roorda, are here to talk about it. Dr. Adam Roorda, why don't I let you start, or would you like me to start?
Oh, you know what? I'm just stoked. How many times have we had Chris on? Twice now?
2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
watch a previous guest go against somebody in such a big fight. Really, this is.
I'm
this
excited.
Is the career changer already. Every fight has been for Chris. He's just been killing it in the UFC.
Absolutely.
What is he? 12-3 or 8?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, in UFC, he's not lost. He has not lost in the
He
UFC.
hasn't, but what's his total?
Overall record, I think, is something really good, like 10-2 or
It's
something,
it's at least 12-3.
something
So,
like that. Yeah,
make
yeah.
that.
Such a nice guy. Former police officer in Philly for many,
Mhm.
many years. I think just recently was able to let his day job go, so he
Actually,
could
he
focus.
was on air and just announced that on our show.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. I think so. I think yeah.
Forgot about that. He like literally had quit like 2 or 3 days before that.
That's right. And the first time we had him, he was still a Philly police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he still was. Even this last time, he said he was quitting. He just put in his 2-week notice. So
Yeah, you're right. He did announce it on our show. So yeah. So tough guy. The guys over in Philly are tough. He's got his brother Kyle Dawkins to train with. Very, very tough guy. This is such an interesting fight because he's jumping up in class for sure to fight Derek.
he
Lewis.
is 100% jumping up in class, and you're also going against one of the other guys that's kind of built like Chris is, but still
bigger,
is
but
bigger and more solid,
and has a more powerful punch.
Right.
I mean, the that's one of the things at heavyweight.
Talking about one of the top 3 punchers out
Oh
there.
yeah, oh yeah. Derek Lewis. He don't call him the Black Beast for nothing. He is a powerhouse, and he's got a good chin. He can take the punishment at a time. A while back, his body, he couldn't really take it to the body, but he's fixed that, so body shots don't deter him. He can finish you any second, and he's got a George Foreman thing going in that he's tall as well. At like 6'3.5", he's got that power, but he's also got that reach, and that's something that can extend a combat sports athlete's career. Is if you're super powerful and you have that one-punch knockout power, but you're also a taller fighter, people got to give you space. People are you know. And so yeah, he's just super dangerous. Dawkins is going to be giving away about 30 pounds. Dawkins is known to stick and move. Dawkins has some wrestling. He's got some jiu-jitsu, although I know Derek's been working on his as well. This is such a weird fight. I mean, it's
It is a really weird fight because I see it's 2 guys with pretty much the same style. I mean, Dawkins is probably a little better on the ground,
technically, right? Yeah,
but it's so similar. This is either going to be a really boring fight or this is ending fast. I am thinking this is going to end fast. I think it's going to be a second-round knockout, and I'm going for Dawkins on this one.
nice. And you know what?
Not just because he's been on our show. I really think he's on a tear.
Yeah.
I think he's also he's hardening up. His body's starting to get a lot more solid.
Yeah.
And he just has that speed that I think
Right.
Derek sometimes will fall victim to, and I think Dawkins really has that opportunity. To
And the
sweep
cardio
floor.
too. And I think he's a little bit younger.
Mhm. 4
And
years difference. There's
Yeah.
only 1 inch height difference. I don't know about their reach difference, but
pretty close. Dawkins
it's
is
going to
just
be close.
yeah. Dawkins is going to be playing the Ali to Derek Lewis being George Foreman, and Dawkins is going to be staying outside, going to want to pop, going to want to stick and move, and is got to be smart though to not get caught on the comeback. I mean, the bottom line is, as we know with Derek Lewis, you can be beating him until you aren't.
Right.
When he catches you and turns
Right.
off your lights. And so Dawkins has got to be really smart. I think he can do it. I don't think it'll be a boring fight, but I think it might be a technical fight for a minute. And I think
First round maybe a little boring for
right
most people.
because of the fact that it's a 5-round fight. You make a good point. I don't know that either guy has gone 5. If either of them they haven't gone that distance very often, and
not very often at all.
And
no.
I think it may only be Lewis that has. So I think the guys are going to be cautious to be protecting their win. That's another betting factor in a 5-round fight. A lot of people don't know is that a lot of people think this heavyweight's going to knock the other heavyweight out in the first round. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't because they're trying to gauge the distance and
Right.
feel things out in the first. So I would always say avoid betting on under 1.5.
Derek needs this win.
He does. He really does.
Derek needs this win, and Dawkins, if he takes this win, Dawkins is all of a sudden just straight to the top. Really.
Without a doubt. Without a
And
doubt. I mean, he'll replace Derek in that top 5 if
yeah,
he wins.
and if Lewis loses, if Derek Lewis loses, he's probably fallen quite a bit in the rankings.
Possibly so. Although the division is not that deep. It really
I know it's
isn't.
not
Yeah,
actually.
So the reality is the winner is gonna maybe go up 2 spots and the loser go down 1 or 2 spots possibly. It'll be discouraging though for Derek because he's so close. Tough fight, and this is
On that note, you actually brought something up. Okay, and tough fight. We can get back to that in a second, but just UFC in general, I feel like their heavyweight division and their light heavyweight division is starting to thin out quite a bit, and then women's 45 is just nothing.
Yeah,
And the 35 is just really women's 35 is really dried up in a lot of ways as far as talent levels go.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do, Colin? Because we've got PFL, we've got ONE FC coming out and really doing stuff.
One championship,
one championship now. I'm so used to calling them ONE FC, but
they were for a long time.
Bellator with their light heavyweight division, men's light heavyweight is just insane.
Yeah,
that's
they're jumping.
Probably the best light heavyweight division in the world.
Could be
with Bellator, in my opinion. So what is the UFC going to do? Are they going to keep maintaining the king status, or do you think we're going to start seeing a little thinning of the herd here with that and spreading out to the other promotions and potentially unifying belts? Do we see that happening in the next 5 years? I do.
I would love to see it. I would love to see Bellator start getting stronger. I really do think that they need to do something with their PR machine to start making that happen, but getting better fighters that are looking good and making a more competitive stack division is definitely a big thing.
They have a great PR machine, but I think it's the marketing side, which is a little different.
Yes,
marketing
you're
and PR
right.
are two
marketing,
different
you're right about the PR is good. Really good guys in the PR.
Yeah, I was just going to say their PR team is stellar. But
I just almost wonder if they have a marketing team. I have a feeling they don't.
I'm sure they do, but
if they do, they're not doing anything. I'm sorry to say, we love you, but
hey, Danny, both Dannys actually.
Big respect.
Huge respect, but make sure to hit me up for any marketing needs that you need because I can hook you up with my people.
Yes.
Hook you up with my boys.
Yes, and hit me up if you want to have another good commentator added to your
I
team.
thought we were going in a different direction, but you stopped it good.
Sorry.
Have another good.
Go ahead. You
had my head in the gutter.
Yes. Anyway, we're happy to help you guys at Bellator if you
for
need
a good
us.
time, $5 make you holler.
That's it, exactly. Love you a long time. So
we were not supposed to roll with that.
If you take the lead, I've got to jump in. I would be remiss if I didn't follow you on that. Anyway, ignore that.
Get your head out of the
Cut
gutter.
that
Get
out.
your head out of the gutter.
Yes, no gutter, no heads in
you
gutters
too.
here. Yes. So hard to say. Anyway, we're a few minutes away. Actually, our next guest is the call time is 3 minutes away. If he's in a studio or if not, maybe you guys could remind him if you don't see him there. But I don't know. Dana White said there'll never be a unification or a co-promotion. They just don't want to do it. I think
you know how many times he says never or yes for sure, and then the opposite happens?
That's true. But
if there's any person in this world that I do not believe with never statements or absolutely statements,
right.
It is Dana White.
Yeah.
And Dana, you're another person. You're Uncle Dana, man. But you have a tendency to not necessarily follow through.
He comes around. He comes around.
You do,
yeah. New way of thinking.
Dana does come around.
Yeah,
and he is one of those guys that will never admit, though. He'll be the last person. He'll be the first person to actually just shift the conversation ever so slightly into something completely different. He's got to be a politician at some point in his life.
Yes,
and I think that is probably coming, actually.
It very well could be. He could be our next president, Dana White of the United States. That would be amazing. But then
I wouldn't disagree, but he's real shifty in the conversation, and not in a bad way.
No.
I'm just saying he shifts the conversation just like a professional politician.
Exactly. But it's the one thing they have not acquiesced or given into, though, is ever co-promoting. Some people try to point out.
And I think that's one of the things that will happen. I think it's just got to change a little bit. Not for him. I think he's doing great things.
Yeah.
I think there's a long ways for people to catch up before he feels like that's a good idea.
Right.
I get that 100%. For him to stay firm on that right now makes sense. But I'm also starting to see a shift in these different weight classes, and PFL coming in a lot stronger on paydays. Their base pay is going up for fighters from everything that I'm hearing. Maybe not every fighter, but more fighters getting.
They're coming in hot.
Yeah, they're coming in hot, and they have a lot of investors jumping in. They are playing the long game PFL is doing the pay-for-play game right now.
Absolutely. PFL is so attractive, we might even get Harrison and Armand to have a fight in the PFL.
No, they might take them up. From what I'm hearing, they pay enough, guys.
You guys might be down for being MMA fighters. Is it possible if the money's right?
If the money's right. Yes, sir.
We would, but the weight class is different between you two guys, so we'd have to get a catch weight. But we'll figure it out. We'll hammer it out, guys. Just start getting into shape. Stop. Don't eat too much more pizza tonight. There we go. I like it. Harrison's ready. Armand's ready. Anyway, so
well, one of you needs to eat more pizza. The other one needs to have less.
there we go. Well, they're both in good shape. Great guys. They can fight. Man, they can fight. I'll tell you what. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
We watch it happen every night. They're over here just duking it out
That's
behind
it.
the cameras.
They know fighting. This whole team knows fighting. So now, any luck? It looks like our guest is not there yet. So maybe
I was gonna say, you want to shoot him
yes. Let me shoot him
an IG message.
a little IG message. My back is breaking here.
Make sure he's got that.
Make sure he's IGing rather.
Yeah, IG.
Whenever you're ready, we're all set for the interview. All we need you to do is click that link sent from Third Wheel Studios in your email box. Period. And maybe I'll make
Email
sure
box.
Email.
What is
box.
an email box?
That's a good question. That's old school. That's old school. You don't need to say.
I'm not sure it was ever called an email box.
Yeah, I think at one point it was 20 years ago.
Maybe a mailbox.
All right, let me erase the box.
Email
part.
mailbox or inbox.
Yeah, in your inbox. Just inbox me, man. That's it, right?
There you go.
All right. Okay. Okay. See if we can make this happen, man. We're gonna make this happen because I know that.
Man, you wouldn't even be able to talk to a 22-year-old if you want, if your life depended on it.
It would be tough. It would be tough, man. I would figure. I don't know. Like I was saying, I went to the gym yesterday, and these guys in there, and they have the baseball hat backward, other funky hat, big, huge earphones on like that. I'm like, I should come into the gym one day like that, walking in with a big, huge green earphones on and a crazy hat on, coming in going, yeah.
You better be carrying a blunt with you.
Carrying a blunt.
Stop by my place. I'll roll one
I'll
for
be
you.
smoking a blunt when I come in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just step in the gym, smoking a blunt. Just
That's it. Say,
do it like the Diaz brothers.
That's right, man. Say, I'm young. I'm cool. Come on. You know?
Yeah.
So, or something.
I'm just picturing
It'd be great.
Colin totally doing some cultural appropriation and going in all Rastafarian. Like,
That would be hilarious. Yeah, get my. Although I love the music. Yeah, I'd be the white Bob Marley.
No, I do love
That's
the music.
it. Yeah, it's good shit. So we got all kinds of stuff going on, man, and cannabis is kicking ass, and everyone's having a good time, and you got.
And cannabis is kicking ass right now. All the market, stock market, not necessarily so much, but you go anywhere to any state and you just see so many booming economies. And
That's true.
I do love how now in MMA the THC levels are not really being tested, or at least not to the levels that they were previously. And USADA still has their rules, but in UFC they let some things slide for their fights. So it depends on which state you're in, which commission you're dealing with.
That's true. That's true. Well, sometimes letting it slide is good, and sometimes you don't want to let it slide too far. It really depends what's sliding. But I don't, I don't know.
You're trying to get yourself in trouble right now.
I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Cannabis is, this
You're talking about slip and slide, right? You don't want to slip too far and hit your head against a brick wall, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
That's what it is. Although we know that cannabis is not really a performance enhancer to any degree, and so I do believe that. Well, I don't think it really is. I mean, it isn't. What am I saying? It's not a. Do you have evidence that I don't have? I mean, is it?
It's a painkiller.
I guess to an extent, though. Although, I guess you're right. Well, it is a painkiller. Although, is it going to stop pain from being punched and kicked in an MMA fight? It might not stop the acute pain that's just being introduced like that. Either way, I think no one's against smoking some cannabis. It's not going to help you win an MMA fight, I don't believe. But
it's not going to help your lungs. I think it levels out enough at the end of the day, but there's also cannabis consumption now that does not require smoking it. So I have to disagree. I think it's a performance-enhancing drug. A lot of people have been using it for the longest time for strength training, very specifically because of the pain, being able to dull it. And
right.
I would say somebody that's smoking a bunch of sativa before a fight that actually is used to smoking quite regularly does have an advantage.
Right. That I guess I could see.
If you're smoking an indica or a hybrid that starts making you like trail and that's
right.
a different story. But
right.
I do see it being a performance-enhancing drug if it's a sativa pure
Could be.
strain.
Could be. Did you know, though, that cannabis can actually make people more attractive, but not the people that are smoking it? For example, if you go into a club and you meet a girl, after smoking, a few hits, she looks good. After smoking a few more hits, she looks even better. And after a few more hits, she looks like a supermodel. So
No, alcohol does that to me. Beer goggles. I've never had weed goggles like that.
No weed goggles.
I've smoked a lot of weed, and I've never had weed goggles with that.
Oh,
no.
man. Do you guys have any weed goggles stories over there? Any of our guys? Weed goggles? No. Well, someone's got some weed goggles. I can't be the only one. What am I saying?
I'll just have to bring in a bunch of vape pens here one of these days and get everybody going on some weed goggles.
That's it, man. You know what I mean? It's
Or actually, better yet, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy some of those scuba
yes,
goggles.
scuba goggles. Those are good.
The whole thing is it's going to be like cheeching up inside there.
Yes.
I'm going to have little tubes that just come up into the nose.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then, that would be cool. I like that. I think that maybe we ought to do an episode of this show where we're both wearing scuba suits. What do you think?
Scuba Colin and Scuba Adam. Here you go.
We come
welcome to the show. It's Scuba Colin.
Yes, this is our underwater episode. You guys gonna have to put a graphic of like water that looks like it's just over our head. This is our underwater MMA episode. Colin and Adam go underwater.
Have you got any kind of
scuba
response?
gear.
Have you got any kind of response from Jamal?
No, I haven't, which is really disappointing.
It's disappointing.
Yeah. We're all ready with the interview. If you could just jump on Zoom.
It'd be nice to have you show up on time, buddy.
Yeah.
No disrespect, really.
No.
Just, yeah. When we get hit with the disrespect, I'm gonna crack a joke.
Right. Exactly. It's interesting. I mean,
he may have a workout he's dealing with. That's the thing with these MMA fighters.
Yeah.
You're dealing with workouts. You're dealing with family issues quite a bit because a lot of them do actually come from troubled families, and there's only one member that's responsible, and that's why they're fighting, because they're being responsible.
That's right. Just like there's only one.
I don't know. Jamal's been on two or three times. Yeah, and he's showed up on time.
Yeah.
So
he's
something's going on.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I mean, the Zoom.
He might be waiting over on Skype just because he's used to that.
That could be it.
Some of the transition here for some of these folks is.
Yeah, they're so used to us doing Skype, but at the third wheel, we're doing the Zoom, and no, is that something? Did I see something flash? No, it's nothing.
No, nothing's flashing.
Wishful thinking. Well, we can't. You don't have your Skype directory. We can't mix it up on him and try to call him on Skype. No, we can't. No, it's all right. Well, so Dr. Adam Roorda. Let's talk turkey here about some MMA. So, Kayla Harrison was one of the few people that was quite unhappy seeing Juliana Pena ruin a huge.
Well, there goes
payday.
That's a huge payday.
Right, but this does preclude. It does preclude the fact that I shouldn't use words I don't normally use. That's. Am I high? I feel like I'm stoned. My mom was an English professor. She's saying you're forgetting
just don't use words, Colin.
Don't you? I won't.
You need to give up right now.
Forget my vocabulary.
This is the worst job to have if words are a problem.
Well, thank you. Fortunately, I'm normally a wordsmith,
okay.
And my name is even Smith, or something, Crandall Smith. If Amanda Nunes comes back and does win, then the Harrison fight is still in the picture.
Right.
But it probably means that Harrison's got to fight once more before then. And probably where's she going to land though, man? In light of this happening,
this all makes it so different. Just because, first off, Amanda was going to have to win and have nowhere to go. That's what was going to happen. Now, she has somewhere to stay. Right. And we're talking 100% UFC right now at this point. So, I mean, that division is staying alive because of that loss. It really is now.
Yeah.
I think it would have been dead if she would have won. I think it was the last time, and there may have been something. The way the fight world works, I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of a.
Because she had beaten
you have to lose this one, man. Otherwise,
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened.
Oh,
There's a little
bit of
because
because she had beaten all the top pretty much all top 10 women contenders.
So it doesn't make sense to me that she lost like that. I think most people agree with that part. Maybe
Yeah,
not the other
weird
conspiracy theory that I have,
right,
but
right,
I would not be surprised if she was paid to keep this division alive by losing.
right. Because
not saying it did happen. I have no
Right.
evidence of such, but
but
I
if
just
that
wouldn't
is
be
the case,
surprised.
then she would definitely win the rematch, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And if she does, then bring in Kayla Harrison.
And then bring in Kayla.
So,
Harrison.
but in the meantime, because they're going to need to recover from their injuries
Mhm.
and take time to promote and hype up the fight, so the soonest that rematch would happen would probably be 5-6 months from now. And that means then the soonest anyone would be able to fight the champion would probably be 4 or 5 months from then. So Kayla's probably, although you know what, if she's good with her money, she doesn't really need to fight in the next year.
Where were they just fighting?
Where I think it was T-Mobile. I'm pretty
If
sure.
it was T-Mobile or Vegas, did you see the injury or doctor's reports afterwards?
No, but I don't. You're right. They weren't injured that badly, but they're
I
just
was gonna say they could have a 6-week turnaround.
no. That not for a title fight. They don't do that in UFC, Adam. They hype it. They gotta hype it.
So 3 months.
At least
3 months.
at least 3 months, bare minimum.
Right, 3 months for that. They'll be able to turn it around. New year. Keep that in mind. New year.
Yeah. I'd say 3.5 months.
The divisions are really thinning out.
Yeah, money to be made. Yeah,
And they got money to throw at it too.
Yeah. So, but then still, the bottom line is if that happens in, let's say, 3.5 months, and then the soonest Kayla could fight the winner probably would be another 4 or 5 months. So Kayla could not fight for the next 8-9 months. That might be the smartest thing for her. But then if she wants to make a payday, then she will fight in the next 8 months.
Right.
It's so hard to see because PFL, if they sign her, would they agree to sign her for like one fight? Probably. Maybe. Bellator, UFC wouldn't agree.
No,
you know?
no.
So it's really hard to say. And Kayla,
I don't know if PFL would do it for one fight.
no,
Bellator, I think, would.
probably, and UFC wouldn't.
Right.
So maybe Bellator. Maybe if Kayla is that confident in herself, being such a stud as she is, why not go over and fight Cyborg?
Right.
In waiting for what happens.
Yeah, my question is, why has that not happened?
So Kayla mostly fought at 155.
I get that. I
even
get that.
though she
but
did come down to 45 a couple times, once or twice.
that's it. She has. And so my thought is okay, well, Cyborg,
Maybe once.
45 is fine.
Yeah. Cyborg also said she's happy to fight in 55, although she never has fought.
But, well, I mean, shit, Cyborg will do it. I mean,
She will.
that's the bottom line. What I see is Cyborg is not the right matchup for Kayla.
In a good way for Kayla or a bad way? Or
Bad way for Kayla. I
she could
think.
get beat up, and then she wouldn't get any UFC fight, probably.
Right. And then I also see, like, Nunes being she's an easier fight for somebody like Kayla. Just the styles. The Cyborg is
Really physically strong.
really physically strong, so that wrestling style in jiu-jitsu, the ground game is just going to be a lot different,
Right.
a lot more complex and difficult for Kayla. Nunes she's thicker and stockier and has I wouldn't say more actual strength.
Well, Cyborg's, but then she's maybe a more precise puncher with maybe.
And Nunes is a better striker. She
proved
and
by
I've
beating-
always
by beating Cyborg, the way
when
she
she beat Cyborg, she did exactly what I was saying. Her walkthrough on those punches are nasty. They're the best walkthrough I've ever seen.
Yeah, really good.
Sean
form.
O'Malley is really one of the only other people that has mastered that walkthrough on the punch.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I just think that's what Kayla has to fear, not so much the ground game. No, Nunes clearly is not a slouch on the ground either.
No,
but
true. But
I think the matchup is worse for Kayla to have Cyborg than
Right.
Nunes.
You could be right, because Cyborg is a physically stronger woman than Nunes, and she could shut down Kayla's takedowns. Whereas Amanda may not be strong enough to. Well, it'll be interesting to see. The bottom line is we all want to see it. I mean, Kayla is a beast. She's a badass. Is it her obligation to ruin her chance to fight in the UFC by going and taking one fight against Cyborg in Bellator? No, it isn't. Not her obligation at all. But should she do it? Is it what the fans would want? Hell yeah. I mean, while she's waiting, despite this craziness going on, why not? Cyborg would take it in a heartbeat, I'm pretty sure, and
Right.
it's a title, and
Right.
Kayla would have a title.
Right.
So I'd like to see that. I just don't know. We'll have to see what Kayla says. I'd like to talk to her, but she's also someone that's doing very few interviews, if any, and unfortunate. That's one of the things, you know, that it is. ESPN will grab someone pretty much based on whoever they want, and then maybe Joe Rogan, and then that's it. But we're hopefully going to be up there sometime sooner than later, and then we can grab these people too and do really good interviews with them as always. But
Now, speaking of fighters from last week, from last Saturday's fights, Poirier, come on.
yeah,
What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I mean, I like what Jimmy said, and I've talked to a couple other friends as well. I talked to Chris Lytle about that as well on the phone. It seemed like he had one way to win, which is keeping it on his feet, and it just seems like he just seemed a little nervous. He seemed like he was not as confident as Charles. Charles is becoming so confident and so focused and so, you know, Charles Oliveira 2.0, and he just came in there, took control of the cage and the space, and backed Dustin up. And you know, Dustin sure as hell tried,
Right.
but it just seemed like he just felt like he was a step behind. He looked like he knew he was a step behind, and then he didn't want any part of the ground. And I understand that Charles is a specialist. He's amazing on the ground.
He is a specialist, and he's absolutely amazing at everything he does. Now, he walked away with the win, and he's going to be probably facing Justin Gaethje. It's pretty much a sure thing.
Pretty
right?
much, yeah, exactly. And so
Justin deserves this, and
Yes.
I think we called it that this would happen,
Yes.
and now everybody else is now here. So
yeah, we did. We were saying for the longest time that Justin's got to be given the title shot. He did lose to Habib, but he's next in line. Yeah, let's talk about this 155 then. So
Yeah.
Justin is going to get this next shot against Charlie, as Dan Hooker called him, Charlie Olives. I gotta love that nickname.
Charlie Olives.
Yes, for a guy,
and
Oliveira. So
Justin, get you some.
get you some, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's going to be Gaethje against Oliveira, and then before that, though, we will see Islam Makhachev versus our friend Beneil Dariush. The winner of those two fights will fight each other. Now, Conor McGregor is talking trash already, saying, what date do I fight Oliveira? And everyone's pretty much
Everybody's
just-
going like this.
yeah, exactly. Not happening for quite a while. Well, you know, get some wins. But, you know, although he does make some money, but at some point people are going to not want to pay to see him lose again, you know. But
Connor,
anyhow, yeah,
Connor, get some wins.
get a little.
You're
bit
hearing
of
that from both of us,
Yep.
actually. And yeah, you could kick my ass. It's okay.
Yep.
But
After
you need to get yourself some wins before you can get yourself in line with Charles. Good old Charlie Olives.
yes,
And,
and all the tough guys at the top. Before you can convince us you'll batter them, you know, you've got to batter some other guys. But leaving Conor McGregor out of it for now, all due respect, Conor.
and you
Beneil-
Connor fans that think that he deserves it,
No,
you
what
might
can you
as
say?
well be quiet right
You're drinking too much proper 12 there, mate. Anyway,
I think Connor and all of his fans were for a while.
they were drinking the Kool-Aid, man. You can't always drink the Kool-Aid sometimes in this life, although it may be fun.
I mean, I love Connor and his fighting style and you know what he's done for the sport. He's one of the greatest to do it in a lot of ways. He's definitely one of the greatest entertainers for sure, and he's known for that Superman punch. It's amazing, but
A lot of different good stuff. Him also.
times are changing and they're changing fast. He's not quite the person that all of the all the Connor fans are just next level. I don't even know how to describe him, Colin.
Well, they're still using the line from 2014 saying, "Who the fuck is that guy?" You know, or "Who the fuck are you?" Who the fuck is he?
Mostly his non-fans that are doing that.
Pretty much. But anyway, was that
no,
signal?
no.
Okay, so basically, if Beneil wins against Islam, and that's going to be a hell of a fight, then and if Gaethje beats Charlie Oliveira, then it's going to be two friends fighting each other, Justin Gaethje and Beneil. And you hate to see that. You hate to see that, but for a world title and big money, it would happen. I think it really could. I think Gaethje's going to beat Oliveira. I know most people don't. But like Jimmy said, if that fight stays on its feet, and it's going to be hard for Charlie Oliveira to take down a two-time, I think Gaethje's like a two-time national champion, or at least one-time 4-time All-American. It's going to be not easy for Oliveira to get Justin Gaethje on the ground, especially since Gaethje does not want to be on his back against Oliveira. But if Gaethje wins that fight, then him against the winner of Dariush and Islam would be interesting. And why it would be interesting is if it's Dariush, it's two friends, and they're both tough, and they will both be coming off amazing wins. But if it's Islam, then Gaethje will be confronted with pretty much the second coming of Habib. And he did lose to Habib. And,
Right.
and the question will be, will he be able to have done something between the time losing to Habib and the time fighting Islam, if that does transpire, which will probably be a little bit more than a year? Can he shore up his takedown defense? Can he get his jiu-jitsu defense a little bit tighter? It'd be interesting to see, because a lot of people don't think Islam is quite as good as Habib. And if Islam fails against Gaethje and Habib submitted Gaethje, you'll be able to kind of substantiate that. Although they could possibly say that as time went by, Gaethje got better or something like that, But it's going to be interesting to see. But there's so many tough guys in there, and it's some great matchups. Michael Chandler still wants to get his hands on someone. He fought Gaethje pretty much to a standstill in that fight.
Well, here's the thing: if Gaethje gets the win, we might see that one brought back.
Gaethje Chandler, yeah, but Chandler's behind the other guys that I mentioned. So if Gaethje beats Oliveira, Gaethje will
Yeah,
fight
but that
for
was
sure.
one hell of a fight.
In Chandler it was, but if Gaethje beats Oliveira, Gaethje will for sure fight the winner of Beneil versus Islam. But then if he wins that, yeah, Michael Chandler, why not? Probably so.
Probably
so.
Most likely.
And then that would be amazing, because that was an incredible fight, Chandler.
And then if Gaethje keeps going, then Charles comes back.
Yeah.
It's just a whole cycle with Justin, because he's been through it. So
exactly,
I think him in the world of UFC is a blessing. I'm actually a huge fan ever since you told me about him.
Yeah.
I didn't know about him yet, and this was before the UFC.
Yes.
Colin was calling it, saying he's going to be a title contender. You're right. Now that I've watched all of his fights, at this point, I'm just like, holy shit, this dude is the dude.
Yeah, way back. Remember, I was mentioning him when he was in the World Series of Fighting. I was telling some of our UFC fighters, look out for this guy, the World Series of Fighting champion, Justin Gaethje. And he was the violence master then. Now he's the highlight reel. And amazing. Really good dude, though. We had a great chat with him. We have on video interview from about a year and a half or 2 years ago. And then we have one that I don't even know where we could find. That
was before anybody thought he was big, but we already knew that it was going to happen.
That was before the Tony fight. We got Gaethje on the show right before the Tony Ferguson fight. And we also did a side-by-side interview with him at the Dominance MMA Media 2.
That was a great one.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever put out that footage.
We did.
Did we?
Yeah, we put it out that week. Yep,
okay.
We put it out.
All right. I don't know where it was. I don't know if I ever saw it, but it was It
was on our show.
About a 15
We
minute?
used it on our show.
Okay. All right. We edited it. Okay. And that was about a 15
Didn't
minute.
we use him, and then also, it might have been next
Rumble.
week that we put up Rumble, but I think might have been both of them the same
Okay.
episode.
Yeah. Rumble's amazing over there in Bellator. So a lot of interesting action coming up. I guess we could shoot the breeze here for a couple more minutes.
Oh, we don't have to. You know what? I'm actually getting really hungry, and our last guest didn't show, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there, Colin. I'm going to have some food.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some food. It was another great episode, guys. Go ahead and check out Lith Token. It's lithtoken.io. When you get a chance, head on over there. You don't have to buy, but at least let people know about it. If you want to buy a hoodie or a shirt, T-shirt, any of the merch over there that's for sale, all proceeds go, 100% of the proceeds go to the Indigenous Persons Initiative. It is to help with educating Indigenous people down in South America about different sustainability methods, self-sustainability.
Yes.
I'll spit it out. Self-sustainability down in South America in the areas around all the different mines, like lithium mines. How to be able to sustain their agriculture business, be able to get into the next stages. So yeah, head on over lithtoken.io. Huge supporter of the show. I'm saying that as the blockchain architect and also an MMA fan. But thank you so much for everybody tuning in at MMA Power Hour on social media, and I am gonna let you take it out.
Thank you, Dr. Adam Roorda, for all you do. Definitely, that Lith token is something worth checking out, and very possibly no guarantees. But if you get into that, you won't have to keep telling your parents these stories about I owe this guy and I owe that guy. So go to Lith Token IO to avoid having to, tell those sob stories. Although no guarantees, Dr. Adam Roorda says. But thank you, Dr. Adam Roorda.
Yeah, don't come after me with that
No.
statement that he made.
You won't. You'll just owe the bank or whoever you're.
Hopefully you don't owe anybody, and hopefully if you want to be an adopter, you understand the risks that are carried with adoption of a cryptocurrency.
That's it. So I'll throw all that out there. Adopter, sustainability, NFT, crypto, just jump into all that good stuff. It's all amazing, whatever I just said. So, Dr. Adam Roorda.
Colin's waiting for a lawsuit to happen. SEC is going to come knocking at his door.
Exactly, and I'll say I don't even know what I'm talking about. But I'll say
they're going to be like, that's our whole point.
That's the whole point, exactly. Well, Dr. Adam Roorda, thank you for your contribution, all that great stuff. Always great chatting with you. Also, I want to thank our great team here of engineers with Mike and Armand and Harrison. Thank you guys all so much for what you do here at Third Wheel Podcast Studio in Los Angeles. I want to thank our guest, Jimmy Smith. So glad to have you on the show and grateful for your time, man. Jimmy, you are amazing, and as always, huge respect for you. Really appreciate you, brother. Jamahal Hill was supposed to be here, and we confirmed and reconfirmed, and then something happened. But all respect to Jamahal Hill. He's been on before. I'm sure we'll talk to him again. I want all you guys to be kind to yourself. It's a cold winter, But those of us in the East Coast and the Midwest know to drink our soup and our hot cocoa and our hot tea. It can get cold in the West Coast too, so don't get caught without making sure you're warm and have your vitamin C. Take good care of yourself. You deserve it. Spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. Not only tell people that are super close to you that you got your back and you love them, but maybe some people you haven't talked to in a while. Take good care of your animals. Unconditional love is what you get from them. Make sure to walk your dog. Make sure your cat's litter box is clean and they have fresh food and water. That's about it. We need to, like Dominic Cruz said after his victory, we need to get together. It seems like media is dividing us a lot, and a lot of anger and a lot of difference of opinion, and we need to try to get together with our fellow man and woman. And so do that, go out there and be kind to someone and be nice and spread the love. And like I said, it'll come back to you a million times. For the entire team here at the MMA Power Hour, this is Colin Crandall, and for tonight, and I got to do my punching, but with this arm here, it makes me look like a jackass, whereas I normally look pretty crisp, but we'll see what I can do here. For tonight, I'm tapping out.